What's up, guys? It's Murphy's Philosophy here again. Gonna be making a little video. Sorry for the background noise. I was over here working on a couple of my P30s, doing a little gunsmith work, replacing the sears on them. Actually, the sear spring. But anyway, wanted to drop a video real quick talking about the recent kind of blow up that's happened in the firearms community, 2A community, whatever you want to call it, about the comments that Ken Hackathorn made, and I guess by extension Paul Howe made on the Wilson Combat YouTube channel about a week ago. And so we're going to talk about a little bit about what happened, what the industry did, the kind of the backlash, the reason for it, all that kind of stuff. Now, I already addressed, for those of you who don't know, it's Ken Hackathorn said something to the effect of that weapon-mounted lights are not needed on a concealed carry handgun. Now, I did a video on this topic, which is one of the reasons I wanted to kind of make this video. I did a video on this about a month ago. So long before the Wilson Combat video came out, and I addressed this topic. I'm not going to rehash that here. If you want to watch it, go back and watch that video that I did on it, and you'll get the answers to the test. But this is going to be about kind of what's going on and the backlash, and if that's the right word for it, about what's happening with the comments that Ken made. And I will link that video, the Wilson Combat video, in the description of this one, so y'all can actually watch the real video instead of just hearing what other people said about it, because context is important and details are also important. And so the first thing I want to point out is this is Ken and Paul's opinion, and they actually differ in opinion on appendix carry. I know Ken doesn't like appendix carry. Paul does. Paul's been doing appendix for a long time, and he loves it and recommends it, and that's fine. And this is one of the issues, is that professionals can disagree, okay? I know guys that have come from the same exact military unit that disagree on some tactics and some weapons and stuff like that, and they all have their own ideas and what's important to them. And the reason they have that is because they have their own unique experiences, okay? One operator on an operation is going to have a different experience than another operator who's on the exact same operation. So experiences are subjective, which means they're individual to the person. So they're going to have differences of opinions. They're going to, in their careers, they're going to see different things. They're going to have different problems, which is going to lead them to look at different solutions and understand things in a different manner. And that's just simply the way it is. There's nothing wrong with that. It just kind of is a thing. The main reason for the backlash for Ken's comments is cognitive dissonance, really is what it is. It's this cult of personality that's grown and festered in the shooting community, saying that these things are the status quo. You need to do things this way. This is what you need to have, and this is what you need to do, and this and this and this. And these kind of set guidelines or standards have grown out of mainly social media, okay? But there's a status quo, and that's why if you read the comments on the video, you'll see many comments saying that Ken is out of touch. He doesn't understand. He's out of touch with the modern shooting community. No, Ken is not out of touch. I can tell you that right now. Ken knows exactly what he's talking about. It's the modern shooting community that has lost their way. That's really what's happened, but no one wants to talk about that. So, and you can see this in the responses that Ken got, the comments that were on the video. Many of them were calling Ken and Paul a FUD, which I don't know what that is. I'm assuming that's some type of pejorative term. I don't know. And just basically saying they're stupid and out of touch and whatever. And well, not most, but I would say a lot of the comments were really just the equivalent of a little kid in a schoolyard calling someone a poopy head. Like, that's how juvenile and disrespectful and idiotic they were. And the reason for that is because they don't have a retort. Because none of these people out here have actually thought about it. They haven't thought about the problem long enough to come up with their own opinions and ideas. They just regurgitate things that influencers and other people have said, but they haven't actually formulated their own ideas about these issues because they're followers, not leaders. And because they haven't done the legwork and they haven't come up with their own ideas and they haven't actually chewed this problem down to the bone and thought about it, they just simply take what they're given and run with it. Where guys like Ken and Paul have literally written the book on these kinds of things, right? So they had to do all the thinking. But the people these days, thanks to YouTube and other social media platforms, they don't do that. They see some influencer do something, say something, run a certain way, whatever, and then they're like, well, that's what you need to do. And that's what's developed this cult of personality in the firearm space. I mean, I've seen people, like all the big names are coming out. Colion Noir, Mac, all the different people are coming out making videos in response to what Ken has said. And none of these people are qualified to lick Ken's boots, in my opinion, because none of them have been there and done that like he has. None of them have done the work that he has. Now, this doesn't mean, and let me qualify this, it doesn't mean that Ken's always right. It doesn't mean that he can't be questioned. It doesn't mean that he's immune from any kind of discussion. That's not what it means. Okay, I disagree with Ken on certain things, as I disagree with Paul on certain things too. But that doesn't mean that I don't understand and respect where they're coming from. And if you're going to disagree, you need to have a rational, objective reason why, and you're going to have to demonstrate that you've done the thinking. And none of the responses that I saw on any of these videos have demonstrated that. They're all just people that are basically stomping their foot and saying, Ken, you're a big meanie head, and grabbing their ball and going home. And it's because they don't have a rational thought process behind what they're doing, because they're just doing what everyone else is doing. Okay? You know, and if you watch other YouTube videos with Ken and Paul, you'll see that they disagree. Like, Paul likes appendix carry, Ken doesn't, you know. But they're respectful. They understand each other. They understand the pros and cons, and they can articulate why they do or do not like a certain thing. And that's really what you need to get to. That's the mark of a professional. A professional can say, I disagree with your opinion, and these are the objective reasons why I do. But you know what? At the end of the day, this is your gunfight, so you can run however you want to. Okay? That's what being a professional is. And it's a really sad thing where I see YouTubers, and I've watched many videos here the last couple of days of Pro 2A gun channels or influencers or gun tubers, whatever the hell you want to call them, you know, just really being pejorative and disrespectful and taking Ken's words out of context and applying meanings to them that aren't there and twisting things around, and they basically sound like a bunch of morons because they can't argue the point. And they can't argue the point, like I said, because they haven't done the thinking. So this is the main topic of this video. Again, if you want to know about red dots on pistols, if you want to know about weapon lights on concealed carry guns, I've already done videos on that. Watch those videos, and you'll get the real skinny on it. This video is more about the social contagion that has infected the gun community and the shooting industry as a whole. And the reason for this social contagion, which is the impetus for what's going on now, and the backlash against Ken's video and what they said, is influencers shaping the tactical and technical discussion instead of actual experts. So what's happened is this weird phenomenon of the last few years where people that don't really have any experience, they don't really have that much knowledge, but they can shoot really cool, fun videos, and everything looks really cool and neat, and guys watch them and they get a big following. So then they start thinking that there's some kind of instructor. They're a professional instructor now, or that they are a subject matter expert in firearms and tactics because they have 1 million subscribers or whatever on their YouTube channel or their Instagram or whatever it is. And none of this is the case, right? Having a big following on YouTube or Instagram or any kind of social media platform doesn't mean that you have any idea what you're doing. It doesn't mean that you're a professional. It doesn't mean that you are an expert, okay? It doesn't mean that. It means that you make entertaining videos. There are people that post on YouTube that have crazy amounts of tactical and technical knowledge, and their videos get hardly any views at all. Does that mean they're stupid? No, it just means their videos aren't flashy or fun. Like mine. Like my videos are not flashy. I just came here, give you the straight scoop, talk about some different things that you're not going to hear other places probably, and that's it. I don't really give a shit about having a big following or anything like that. That's not why I'm doing this. But that's the problem, is these people get, they get too big for their britches, to use an old term, and they start thinking they're better and wiser than they are, and they start having people follow them and ask for their opinion on guns and techniques and all kinds of things when they don't have an expert opinion to give. And so instead of listening to the experts, people are listening to people with big YouTube channels that way. Another problem with the YouTube influencers that get these followings that people want their opinion is these people haven't been vetted and trained on what they're doing. And we're seeing this a lot in the tactical training area, okay? There's so many people now that are out there wanting to be instructors because they think it's cool and because they think they can, but they have absolutely no training and experience in being an instructor. They don't know what being a professional instructor is. They've never been taught how to do it. They've never been shown how to run lines, how to conduct safe range training. They don't have any clue what they're doing. They don't know how to give feedback to students. They've never been taught how to do it, and yet they're just anointing themselves as instructors because they have a lot of money and they go to the range and shoot a lot. And they have a big YouTube following, and so everyone wants to flock to what they do. And this is a problem. This is another thing that's led into this cult of personality that we have in the YouTube, in the Second Amendment community, which leads to the backlash against things that Ken and Paul said on the video. There shouldn't have been any backlash to that. There shouldn't be people making videos saying, "Oh my God, Ken Hackathorn said weapon mounted lights for CCW." That's not the question you should be asking. First of all, the first question that you should be asking is, why would you put a light on a CCW gun? Right? Because the question that these YouTubers are posting, these influencers are posting, is an assumption. They're assuming that a light on a CCW pistol is the standard, and that's not the case, right? And again, that is a result of this cult of personality in the gun tuber zone, okay? So what does this lead to? And this is really the crux of the argument right here. What this leads to, this cult of personality and this backlash against the masters when they say something, what this leads to is the adoption and the belief of untested, untried techniques being utilized. Okay? That's what it leads to. It leads to people thinking they can do more than they can. It leads to people thinking that techniques are valid when they're not. It leads to people thinking that certain pieces of equipment are useful when they're not. It leads to all kinds of, as much as I hate this word, and I do hate this word, it leads to a lot of misinformation and disinformation out there in this tactical space, because you have people that are not experts giving opinion to millions of people versus actual experts giving people opinion and advice. So that's a problem. So yeah, that's a little bit on the backlash, and in my opinion, one of the biggest problems in the shooting community, in the 2A community, is this. It's this cult of personality that is rampant. It's this cognitive dissonance that pops up every time that the newbies out there, the normies, the guys who don't really know what's going on, get slapped in the face by someone who really does know what the hell's going on, and they just lose their mind and they start turning into childish, disrespectful little brats. And that's really what's happened. If you read a lot of the comments on the Wilson Combat page under that video, it's just a bunch of disrespectful little brats that don't know what they're talking about. And they're mad and stomping their foot because Ken just, basically told them what's up. And they don't like that. So they want to call him a FUD and all this other stuff and say that he's out of touch and he doesn't understand and all this kind of stuff. And Paul Howe too. People want to say that about Paul, which I guarantee you'll never say that to his face. You little keyboard warriors want to sit back there and type stupid stuff on your computer where there's no backlash and no one can punch you in the face. And that's why they do it. Anyway, I just wanted to touch on this. Like I said, check out the other videos on red dots that I've posted up. Weapon mounted lights, I got one on that. I do a deep dive on it. You get all the answers to the test. It's real simple. It's not controversial. It is what it is. Guys that have been in the business and actually know what they're talking about have known this for a long time. It's not anything new. But anyway, that's all I got for the day, guys. It's Murphy signing off.